Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for this latest Progress Semaphore webinar, How to Use Semantic Modeling to Unify Business Language. We've seen the rise in a lot of systems that utilize data, that utilize the data that's in your business. Um, AI just being one example of these, but business intelligence engines, transactional applications, so on and so forth. But there's a growing volume of data that's difficult to exploit, as well as bring together to manage it efficiently and effectively. And Gartner say here, data and analytics leaders need to adopt a semantic approach to their enterprise data. Otherwise, they'll face endless battle with endless silos. And that's very true. And these data silos exist in businesses today. So why do they exist? Well, you've got different data in repositories that use different vocabularies, different ways of describing a customer. It might be a number or it might be an ID. And so it's difficult to reconcile those. Different applications want their data presented in a different way. They want certain models reflected of the data that they receive and or send to downstream applications. Um, there's too many data sources. There are hundreds of thousands of enterprise systems that use data, and that data growth is staggering. And there's new sources of data added to the enterprise environment all the time. And you don't always own the data that you're trying to interpret. There could be external factors. They could change the model on you that they're sending the data. Or you might be looking for new data sources. And how the data is represented in a store may prevent you from using it in the way that you want. That structured versus unstructured. And structured data is very much on the rise. 80% of data the enterprise uses is going to be unstructured. And that volume of data in your business is only growing. So if you don't have systems that are capable of interpreting that, then you end up with these data silos. And we know that this is a problem. We recognize this, and this is how the data silos manifest themselves in our customers today. These are quotes from our customers today. Um, and the perennial one is, I don't have a single source of truth to my data. And that's because of those issues. They don't have a single view of the data without going to multiple different systems. The content includes personal or sensitive information, and we need ways to obscure that or find that to make sure it doesn't get there. And our data lake and content stores are really cesspools. They're not managed in any way, shape, or form. There's no unifying model over the data. So, it's really difficult to get insights and then take action and deliver the value that's behind that data. And so, we need to break those data silos down so that we're working in a better world, so that we can increase organizational efficiency, improve data management and insights, enhance organizations' ability to use data, free up employees' time for more valuable work, and help reduce operational costs. And we've seen that in our customers. We've got real world examples of how our approach has saved organizations. I think in one case it's over $100 million a year in savings as a result of the work that we do. So, this today's agenda, I think, is going to be really interesting. We're looking at overcoming data challenges with knowledge modeling. Looking at the essence of knowledge modeling itself. Introducing you to Progress Semaphore and giving you a demonstration of the knowledge management tool that we have in there and how to knowledge model with Semaphore and the reasons to choose it for your organization. And then finally, we'll be having a live Q&A where my colleague Lance and I will be, taking your questions as best we can, and we'll get to as many as we can throughout that Q&A. If you want to ask a question, just click on the right-hand side. There's a hand symbol there. Ask your question, get it out there. We'll like I say, get to as many as we can. If we can't get to them for whatever reason, then we'll reach out to you after the session, and we'll make sure to connect you to the right people. So with that out of the way, let me introduce you to Lance Thiessen, the principal sales engineer, and he's going to talk you through how to use semantic modeling to unify business language. Lance, it's over to you.
Thanks, Philip. Hi, I'm Lance Thiessen. I'm a solution architect and sales engineer at Progress Software. Today, we're going to talk about knowledge models, how to build knowledge models, how to enrich knowledge models with Semaphore. But first, I wanted to talk a little bit about the challenges with big data. Philip touched on some of those. I wanted to dig a little deeper. Then definitely we need to kind of go over what a knowledge model is. Before I talk about enriching it, I'd like to get some of the nomenclature down and talk about what a knowledge model is and then how it's used in practical applications. First off, let's talk about the challenges. Philip mentioned 80% of data is unstructured. I've been working with unstructured data for 25, 30 years now in my career. Large data sets, it can be very gnarly and difficult to deal with. All those emails and Word documents and PDFs and spreadsheets, PowerPoints, so much unstructured data out there, yet we don't use it to make our business decisions. Most business decisions are made based on structured data. Our old founder, Jeremy, used to talk about how do you ask a question of a PDF? Well, we're going to show you how to do that with knowledge modeling today in Semaphore. So some other challenges we have dealing with unstructured data is the semantic challenges. We represent words in many, many different ways, often within a region, but across other regions. So let's talk about gasoline, gas. I live in the United States. Chances are to power my car or your car, you're going to put some gas in there. But everywhere else, they don't call it gas. They don't use gas. They use petrol, which is actually the same concept. It's the same stuff, but we have different names for it in different regions. We might call it petrol or petroleum or the chemical symbols. So there's a lot of different ways to represent concepts. So we have to be able to understand the different, synonyms, alt labels as we call them, for the terms. And we also need to understand the relationships between them. So a car, needs gas to drive, and that's fuel. The fuel is the relationship between an automobile and gas or petroleum. So what is semantic knowledge modeling? Semantic knowledge models, it's the ultimate linking engine for enterprise data. What does a semantic knowledge model do? Well, a semantic knowledge graph mirrors real-world relationships and contexts. They provide rich data contextualization, enhanced data integration, improved data discovery and accessibility, just to name some of the advantages. And here's a little image of a representation in Semaphore of United Kingdom. So some uses of knowledge models. We could use them in decision supports. We could use it for learning systems. We can use it for expert systems or on the semantic web. More, practical uses, we've connected to CMSs, CRMs, search engines, business analytics and business intelligence systems like Tableau or Domo, Power BI, those kind of things. You can integrate with chatbots. You can integrate with ITIL, RTSM systems, things like that. So let's talk about how knowledge models are built. But before I do that, I want to cover some nomenclature, how I view these words or how we look at these terms. And before I get into how we build it, this is what I'm talking about. So first off, a taxonomy, it's a hierarchical way of naming, describing, and classifying a domain or subject area. You might, think of the taxonomy of a hierarchical relationship, with broader and narrower terms. But an ontology is a working model of that, of its entities and interactions in a particular domain of knowledge. In an ontology, concepts relate to each other. Relationships have specific names and definitions. So in your model, you might have the concept sky and you might have the concept blue. So what are the relationships between those two concepts? Is color is the relationship. So sky is color, blue. And that's kind of how I view an ontology. And then a knowledge model is built on top of an ontology. Knowledge models follow a specific ontology and use that standard language and relationships. So some more semantic modeling terms that I'm going to use today that I want you to be aware of. Concepts or concept representation defines and categorizes key concepts. Then we have concept classes, which are grouping of similar concepts. Like fruit might be a class of apple, pear, orange, and so forth. Relationships, we talked about that a minute ago. Model interactions between concepts. So the sky is color blue. That's the relationship. Metadata, simple data attached to individual concepts just to give it additional meaning. So definitions, images, dates, people, things like that. Just more metadata that you want to apply to a concept that can make it more helpful to understand. Standard vocabularies, that's a common language across models or across your organization or across your enterprise. Then applications, which are the practical use of this knowledge model, right? The crucial in data science, AI, and web development. Okay, so let's dive into what is a knowledge model. So we're looking at a hierarchical view of the world, if you will, or part of the world. We have continents on the left here, North America and Europe. And in hierarchical form, the continents have countries on the continents, right? So we have Canada and the United States of America in North America. And then we have Europe, we have France, Germany, Russia, and the United Kingdom. And those countries might have other names for them. USA, oh my gosh, I could think of 20 different versions of ways I could represent the United States of America, including like USA, U dot, S dot, A dot, United States of A, whatever. Or you could have like more of a nickname type thing like Uncle Sam. In Great Britain, same thing. You could have, or United Kingdom is how I want to label a concept in my vocabulary. But I might have other variations of that representation, like Great Britain or England. So we call those alternative labels or alt labels. We also have relationships, right? So Canada and North America share a border. So that's a relationship they have together. They were also a former colony of United Kingdom. That's another relationship. More relationships, you could take Canada, United States, France, Germany, and the UK, and they're part of NATO. Or you might have France, Germany, and UK as part of the European Union, or at least that's how it started, right? Things change. So we got to pull them out. So you need a way to be able to manage these ontologies in a central fashion and do it very easily and collaboratively. And that's where Semaphore comes in. Another way of grouping the information is using classes, right? We talked about that a little bit earlier. North America and Europe are of the continent class. And then you have all of your countries. And then you have international bodies like NATO and European Union. So when you bring all this stuff together, the alt labels, the relationships, the concepts, the classes, the relationships, all that fun stuff, that's the ontology or the structure of the model. Okay, and this is how it looks in Semaphore. That this big mess here, we can manage it very simply in Semaphore, and you can see everything is represented. We have our continents, Europe and North America. We could add more continents, of course. We got our countries that we had before: France, Germany, Russia, United Kingdom. And then under North America, if I could open that here, you'd see Canada and United States are under there. And then you can also, you can view it in what we call a graph form. So you see United Kingdom is in the center. That's what we have highlighted. We have NATO, they're a member of NATO, and they formerly had colonies on Canada and United States and its parent or broader relationship with Europe. And then you can see over here, we have some details. The class is country, preferred label is United Kingdom. And then we have our alt labels, England and Great Britain that we talked about, our synonyms. So how do we use this? What's a practical way of using this? So here's some unstructured data that Canadian diplomat Lester B. Pearson was a key author and drafter of the treaty that included the USA along with Canada, United Kingdom, Belgium, and West Germany. So this is some unstructured data. What can we do here? Well, first off, we can extract out some of the key concepts. We have Canadian over there. That's Canada is actually the stem of Canadian. So we see that Canada is represented. We actually see the word Canada there too, which is why it has a higher score. If you notice, it has a 90. We have Canadian and Canada, so there's two calls. So we think that's very likely we're talking about Canada. We have USA there, which is a synonym of United States of America, or an alt label. So that's represented, even though it didn't say United States of America. We picked it up because it says USA. We have United Kingdom, which is a direct representation. And then we have West Germany, which is actually another way to represent Germany. So we were able to extract out these concepts. But what about grouping it even further? We know that these are all members of NATO, so we could ascertain this unstructured data might be about NATO because we have these concepts, and these are all concepts of this group. So introducing Progress Semaphore. So Semaphore, we basically have three different modules with it. The first module is called Knowledge Model Management, or KMM. We use that for modeling. We build and enrich the models. We manage the semantic data models all inside of KMM. It's very user-friendly. It's great for your taxonomist, ontologist, data scientist, or whoever. It's a low-code, no-code type system, very simple to use. The other part is the classification engine. And we use this to enrich your metadata, extract data from unstructured data and put it into structured form, or to harmonize your data. If you're doing like a business intelligence or business analytics, and you need to harmonize or find all your representations of a concept, like USA, you could have it represented like 10 different times in a document, and then have it reflect back that you have United States of America 10 times in that unstructured area. Or to integrate. I mean, having all these models and the classification is wonderful, but if you can't integrate it with your business application, what's the point? So yes, we can integrate with your search engines, with your CMSs like SharePoint or Brightspot, your business intelligence, like we mentioned Tableau earlier, CRMs like Salesforce, things like that. So what are some Semaphore use cases? Enterprise search, we talked about that a little bit. Content management is probably our biggest one. We're getting more and more involved in information governance. So going in and tagging your documents, regulatory compliance, contract management. The big one right now, though, bigger than anything, are looking at RAG technologies and RAG processes, and putting Semaphore behind your LLMs or assisting AI or machine learning. So that's probably the most exciting use case we're seeing right now. So how are knowledge models created? So a lot of people ask me when we're getting started, where do you get started, Lance? How do you get this information into Semaphore? And well, you could start from a lot of places. There are companies that actually have pre-built generic type models they're great for back office stuff or things that aren't that don't change a lot from your industry or your business. So we have a partner called Wand, and they provide those kind of models. But there's also referencing sourcing out there. There's industry standard modeling. So like in the medical field, there's like Medra, and you have all your ID10 codes and things like that. So you can import those kind of models into Semaphore. Internal model sourcing. So a lot of our clients, before they came to us, would manage their knowledge models in spreadsheets. And I'll quote my friend Arthur Patterson from Salesforce. That worked really great until it didn't. Until they become too big, decentralized, used in different areas, become very, very large and hard to manage. And Semaphore is a great solution for that because we can centralize it and work on them collaboratively. And then finally, there's also linked open data like Wikidata and things like that. We can connect it directly to that, map directly to that, and have those referenced in Semaphore as well. So those are ways to get started. One that's not listed here is your LLMs. So I have built several models, including a contract identification model that I built strictly by using ChatGPT. And all I simply would do is ask questions like, give me terms associated with a listing agreement and things like that. And it would put it in CSV form, and I was able to import it. So those are ways you can get started in modeling. So how do we enrich the models? And this is where we're going to spend most of our time demoing today in the model enrichment area. So we have a lot of ways of doing that with Semaphore. We have what's called the side panel framework. It's a bunch of tools that are both canned tools that I've listed up here, or you can actually build your own custom side panel tools where you can connect to your own indexes, your own databases, your own wikis, your own help, whatever. You can create your own side panel tools, and we'll talk about that a little more later. But we have a tool called the Lexical Resources that provides suggestions for alt labels or synonyms. We have a text analytics tool where you could drop a bunch of documents into the tool, and it does proximity searches and overlap reports. And you can take the terms in that report and incorporate them into your model. We have a translation widget as part of this, where you can just translate your preferred label and your alt labels into other languages like French, Spanish, Chinese, and so forth. A Wikipedia, which what we're seeing here on the screen, it basically does a Wikipedia call on the concept, and it brings back the Wikipedia article, and you can just drag it into your model from Wikipedia on the side from the side panel. And then we also have a text mining tool. We have one that works as a side panel tool, but today I'm actually going to show you one that you can do with our classification engine. So that's the only time I'm going to step out of KMM today, is when I show how to do some text mining with CLS, with the classification. And then we have the AI Model Builder. This is the newest tool. It was released in version 5.10, and this uses your own LLM. So it's bring your own LLM. We connect via ChatGPT, OpenAI, and you can do it publicly, or you can have your private LLMs there, and it makes suggestions for child terms, narrow terms, as well as alt labels, and it works very well. Future releases will be able to hopefully predict relationships and other metadata fields, but right now we can get it for the preferred labels and alt labels. Powerful AI-driven, user-friendly tool for building and enriching semantic knowledge models in Semaphore with agility and speed. So we can use it for creation and use it for enrichment. So at Progress, we think that AI is amazing, and the LLMs are phenomenal. They're going to do a lot for our industry. But we also feel that providing context, common sense, and accountability is important as well. So Semaphore allows you to do the Gen AI building, but we always keep a human in the loop. And that would be your ontologist, your curator, and potentially your SMEs can collaborate on your results and further enrich as needed to keep the human in the loop. Okay, so that brings us to the demo part where we're going to have some fun and look at how Semaphore is used for knowledge management. Like I said, most of the time we're going to spend it in our Knowledge Model Manager, KMM. First, I'm going to kind of walk through the model. We're going to use the same model we talked about earlier, the geography type model. And then I want to walk you through the structure of the model to show how it's supported, basically the ontology. Then we're going to do a CSV import. I can show you how easy it is to get CSVs in there, which is great because you can use CSVs from your internal taxonomies like I talked about, or you can do them from your own LLM building like I talked about. We'll get into some side panel enrichment tools, like I said, the text analytics, the translator, and the wiki. We'll do some text mining via Semaphore classification. And then I want to talk about a couple other ways that we can do enrichment that I don't have time to show today. Okay. So without further ado, let's jump into our demo. Okay, so this is our studio landing page. You see we have our modeling, classification, and integration. Talked about that three times now. Let's go ahead into the model first. And you can see this is the model we were talking about earlier. We have our international bodies and the world. We have our continents. We have our countries. All right. So that's the model. I also wanted to show you the structure that sits behind the model a little bit. If you're familiar with relational databases, I kind of in my mind map this to database schema. It's not exactly that, but it's close. This is our structure and our ontology. So let's talk about a couple different areas. Classes, first off, we have continent class, country class, state provenance class, and city class. And you can see that they're all hierarchical. And this is going to come into play when we do our AI model building, because this is sitting behind the prompt when we're calling our LLM. These are our custom relationships. So I actually have this one highlighted. This is the one between countries and international bodies. So basically is member of, and then the inverse relationship includes country. So we have a couple different ones there. And then we have our alt labels. I have customized alt labels. So you could keep it generic as an alt label like that, but you could have specific ones like abbreviation, country calling code, flag emoji, and nickname are some of the ones I picked out. And this actually comes into play when we do our AI modeling as well. So keep that in mind. Okay, great. So let's do our import now. First up, let me show you my import file. So these are the concepts that I'm going to import. So, and it's in hierarchical fashion. I have the country and the capital city as level 0 and level 1. And then I have this third column here, which is a nickname. So it's an alt label that I'm going to be able to incorporate as well. So I could go multiple levels deep in my hierarchy if I wanted to, but for simplicity, we're just going to keep it to 2 today. Okay, to do the import, go into the import. We have the ability to import an RDF file. If it's well formed, it's easy. You just drop it right in. But we also can import spreadsheets. We can do flat imports, which are, you can do synonyms, relationships, concepts, metadata fields, whatever. Very simple to do. If you've ever done a spreadsheet to database mapping exercise or spreadsheet to application, it's the same kind of thing. We can also import in hierarchical fashion. So when you format that, you make sure you have level 0 as your first column, and then you have them in the right order in your spreadsheet. So all you do is identify the first column and last column, and it puts them in hierarchical format for you. Let's go ahead and open that spreadsheet. Countries. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to identify where I wanted the concepts I'm importing to go in the model. So I want to hang them under Europe there. The next thing I can do is assign a class to everything that's being imported. These are all countries. So I'm going to go ahead and put country on there. And this is where we set up the hierarchy. So country is the first level, so level 0, and capital city is the second, so level 1. And then finally, I have my nickname, which I'm going to map to. Remember, in my structure, I had an alt label type called nickname. So we're going to map it to that, and we're going to keep it language neutral. You could assign it to one of the languages if you so desire. Okay, so this is where I go ahead and click submit, and it's going to go in. And we should see under Europe all those countries populated. Voila. And they have their capital cities under them as well. So if I highlight Austria, let's go into France. You see we have Paris as the capital city, the child. We have the preferred label, and we have the nickname City of Light. Okay, so that's how we import in the CSV. We got our hierarchy going. So let's go ahead and start enriching this model even further. Let's start with the AI builder. So let's go down to North America, and we'll pick on the United States a little bit here. Let's go ahead and get some narrow terms. So if you think back to the class hierarchy or the ontology, it goes from continent to country to state to city, right? So let's go ahead, and this is our AI model builder. Like I said, it's connected to Gen AI or OpenAI. let's get some suggestions. So I'm just using the basic call. It's putting the semaphore model in along with the prompt to make the call. So now I'm getting back states to go into the United States. That looks great. I could load more. I'm just going to go ahead and add these guys right in there. Boom. Now those, I'm going to close that. Now those states are under there. So I can continue to add narrow concepts that way. I can also use the Chat GPT to, or I'm sorry, the AI model builder to add alt labels. So let's look at France again. And let's suggest some alt labels. So I showed you the basic call before. You can also do an advanced call. I can take out some of the semaphore ontology or some of the structure out of the call if I don't want it to be used in the call. It would make it less predictable, but you can still do it if you need to. And you can add additional thoughts to your prompt as well. So I'm going to say English only, and do not use label type. So I am calling alt labels, but I don't want to use that generic alt label type. I want to use my the ones that are in my ontology, the customized ones. So now I'm making my call. Great, they're all in English. Okay, so we got an abbreviation, FR. We got another nickname, the hexagon. We got our country calling code, 33. And here's our little flag emoji. So if you were to, other places would represent that different as your little flag, but that's what's sitting behind it, the code. And I could load more if I wanted, but I think these are good. I'm going to toggle those, add them in. Voila, there's our AI generated alt labels. So next thing I want to do is I want to use my side panel tools that I talked about. So this is the wiki one we talked about. I have a bunch of other tools available, but we're going to start with the wiki. So it's making a call to Wikipedia for France. So let's go ahead and just say, we'll add this as a definition. I'm going to lasso this content right here, drag it in, save it. Now I've added a definition and more metadata to my model simply by dragging it from a Wikipedia article. Another one is our text analytics tool, and this is very cool tool. So so what's going on here is I'm able to add a bunch of documents. So these documents right here, not the zip file, but the Eastern NATO countries economic report, Northern NATO, Southern NATO, Western NATO, and then the Secretary General's annual report. These are just a bunch of documents that I dropped into my text analytics, and it's going to run some reports against those documents. So I've already dropped them in there to save time. They're right here, the NATO reports. So I'm going to highlight a different term for this exercise. I'm going to highlight NATO. So it's going to run NATO against those documents and give us some reports. Okay, you can see the results come back. The first thing we can do is do proximity candidates. So it's looking for terms in the model that are in proximity to the term NATO. It's showing the hit counts, and it's actually showing how many documents of the 5 documents it was found in in proximity to NATO. Then we also have overlapping candidates, which are terms that have NATO overlapping in the concepts that have NATO in the phrase. And you can use this tool both for the proximity candidates and overlapping candidates to enrich your model. So we'll do headquarters, Secretary General, allies, Eastern NATO, and that's good. That's good. We'll just add those. Or Western NATO. Yeah, there we go. Perfect. So we can add them as alt labels. So that's what that would be. So, synonyms, or we can add them as new concepts, which is what I'd like to do. I want to add these as new concepts and put them under NATO. So here's the concepts I selected. This is where I'm going to put them under NATO. and I could give it a class. I don't think it's an international body. I'm going to pull the class out of there and not give it a class right now. And I'm going to submit it. And if I look under NATO, there's my terms I just extracted out of my documents. And finally, we have our translation tool. Let's go to that. And with this, you can translate your alt labels and preferred labels into other languages. I have French assigned to this model, so let's go ahead and translate that. I don't think the preferred labels, no, it's not, it's fine. It's something a little better to do. We'll do, we'll do France since it had some nicknames. There we go. We'll see what this does. Yeah. So we see that this is the same, this is the same, this is the same, not much difference there. But we did see that the nickname is so well, I'm gonna leave that representation in. I don't think these two are necessary. Pull that out, add labels, and they should show up as my alt labels here. Moving on. The next thing I want to show is text mining. And for this, we're going to use my classification engine. We do have a text mining side panel, but for this, I'd like to show how we can use a model to extract certain types of information. So I'm going to take one of those reports, the Western NATO economic report, drop it into the classification engine, and we have a model called text mining, and it's been developed to identify things like nationality, people, persons, names, locations, nationalities, not proper nouns, noun phrases, URLs, email addresses, things like that. And it can identify all of those, extract them out, and you can put it in a CSV file and then incorporate those terms into your models. So if you see here, I got everything coming back. I found some locations, some nationalities, noun phrases, organizations, URLs. So let's focus on location because we've been looking for countries and cities. There's a whole bunch of them right here that were found in that document. Nationalities, you see European and North America. Noun phrases, and this is great for model enrichment. So it's looking for all the noun phrases in this document here that can be used in your model that might be valuable. So GDP contribution, European trade, lots of agricultural product, lots of good stuff you might have in here for your modeling. Okay, so that's the text mining. So we've talked a lot about enrichment tools with the side panel and the AI model builder. There's a couple other that I'm not going to get to today, but I think are worth mentioning. We have a tool that's great for model merging and model mapping. It uses Google's Open Refine in conjunction with Semaphore, and you're able to map terms inside of a model into another model. We support Sparkle. If you're not familiar with Sparkle, it's basically the query language of triples or the knowledge model in Semaphore. It's very similar to SQL, if you're familiar with that query language. So we support that, so you can make a lot of bulk changes and edits to your models using that. So KMM, the classification, and of course the SES integration, they all support APIs. So a lot of our clients will bulk import a lot of concepts and other things into their models using APIs. And finally, I want to talk about the knowledge review tool. I've mentioned collaboration several times. We have a tool that's great for that. And it's basically a go-between between your model coordinators and your subject matter experts. So you don't expect your SMEs to understand ontologies, and you surely don't expect your ontologists to have expertise in every part of the organization. So that tool allows the SMEs to review the models and make suggestions that are presented to the curator to be incorporated into the model. And that tool is called the knowledge review tool. So also a great tool. So great. That concludes the demonstration portion. So why Semaphore is the right semantic technology partner for your organization? So Semaphore for semantic modeling, we've been talking about this quite a bit today. Create and maintain knowledge models. You can enrich your knowledge models. You've seen that. You can collaborate with subject matter experts with a knowledge review tool. You can map, model, and link all your data together. We've seen that with relationships. We didn't talk about it today, but Semaphore is amazing for governance, workflow, life cycle management. The governance aspect of Semaphore, I believe, are second to none of any of these platforms. And then you've seen the AI-driven model building assistance, which is the newest part of Semaphore. So also, why would you use Semaphore? Well, to give context to your data through classification. Enrich tag information access for automation. So you can auto tag documents. Like you could have your authors drop your documents into SharePoint, and Semaphore can automatically tag it with maybe what the documents are about, or the type of document, or who wrote it, and things like that. You can extract out facts and entities and relationships for better analytics. We did that with the text mining tool, but there's other ways we do it that are even better. And then you can harmonize your unstructured data sources, which are great for business intelligence. And we have proven customer success. We've been around for the Semaphore product has been around for 20 years, and Progress has been around for even more. 70% of the Fortune 500 depend on Progress. We have 100,000 plus enterprises and 6+ million business users running on Progress. And Semaphore has been named a leader in the 2024 metadata management quadrant for software reviews after achieving the highest composite satisfaction score of 8.4. And this is not the first time we've gotten great scores from them or Gartner. So at this point, I will stop the presentation and we'll open it up for Q&A. I definitely thank you for your time today, and I look forward to your questions. Philip?